Anyone who knows me knows I hate the current education sector for Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Since 2010, Michael Gove has become the most wanted enemy of parents, teachers, academics, and just about anyone who gives a toss about education. I am firmly amongst his detractors. I've been meaning to vent my spleen against the man for a few months now, but what finally tipped me over the edge was him slagging off GCSEs. GCSEs, for those of you who don't know, are the first real qualification that you will sit in England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Scotland has its own equivalent qualification called the Standard Grade. Now, this is where devolution comes into play. Wales and Northern Ireland are independent of England's in certain areas of governance, including education policy. That'll be an important piece of information to remember for later. Here's the reason I'm annoyed. Gove has decided to just outright scrap GCSEs and replace them with EBCs, or English Baccalaureate Certificates. So first of all, why has he done this? Well, whilst the GCSE system was perfectly serviceable, it did have a few glaring flaws. One of them was that schools could choose which exam boards to go with for certain exams, and this led to headmasters just shopping around for the easiest exams. The new EBAC has scrapped this, so every exam is overseen by one exam board and one exam board only. And I approve of that measure. So, good start, surely. Well, no. The exam board change aside, details on what the EBAC would actually involve have been pretty sparse. All Gove has been talking about is rigour, as if it's some kind of GCSE geography buzzword. The change, in a nutshell, basically comes down to the fact that Gove thinks that all teachers aren't doing their jobs and that all children are thick. However, if all the children are thick, then why are they all getting record A's and A stars? It must be because the exams are too easy. Of course, Gove is missing the fact that this is just a sign that today's kids are working harder than the previous generations. And also that simplicity is the entire function of GCSEs. GCSEs shouldn't be considered real qualifications at all. Their importance in the real world goes nothing beyond getting a C, which is a pretty basic pass, in maths and English. Instead, I like to think of them as gateway qualifications. How they work is you get the core subjects forced onto you. English, maths, science, ICT, and religious studies if you're in a faith school. You then get to pick 3 courses of your own. The whole idea of GCSEs, in my opinion, is to try out certain disciplines to see if you're any good at them. So in that respect, making them quite general is not a bad thing. Yes, they should be demanding and engaging, but that's not what Gove is talking about. He's instead just wanting to make them harder to pass, and that's a very different thing. The problem with Gove is he's so keen to revolutionise everything that he's not stopping to think what the best way to do it would be. His method so far has been entirely machine gun the old and ring in the new, regardless of whether the new is better or not. And so often, it really hasn't been. You can guarantee the same curricular structure will be the same as it always has been, just more difficult to pass. In effect, all these qualifications serve to do is slam doors shut in the faces of underprivileged kids in deprived areas. The new system would see you do 2 years of learning and then have one monster exam per subject at the end of the 2 years. In effect, you'll be forced to cram in 2 years of information for 11 different subjects into a 2-week exam block. The aim of these really seems to be just to thin out the middle class a little bit better. So what should we be doing? Well, let's start with the core subjects, English and maths. When I did my English GCSE, it focused entirely on literature, even though half of it was supposed to be dedicated to language. The level of technical skills currently taught in English GCSEs is non-existent. Ask any GCSE English A-star student what an abstract noun is, and then look on in horror at the blank stare they give you back. No focus is given to lexis, grammar, and sentence structure, and very little is given into explaining what poetic structure actually is. It's just enough in the exam to write down iambic hexameter without ever having to prove that you know what it is. That's abysmal. Maths, on the other hand, is entirely theoretical and pretty inapplicable to everyday life now. It gives you a good grounding in academic theory, but the problem is the world has moved on since the days where having a good grounding in academic maths was enough to get you a job. The problem with maths as a core subject is that it's so revered in the curriculum that every educational institution on the planet is afraid to go near it. So instead, it's just been left to fester and grow ever more out of date. Maths GCSE should at least partially deal with economics. Children are now going out into the world and having to grasp with an increasingly more dynamic economy, with none of them having a clue on how the economy functions on a basic level. And I'm amongst them, but I really wish I wasn't. Likewise, modelling maths lessons on more practical applications like tax returns, balance sheets, business reports would ground the qualification in the real world for the first time since ever. That aside, the general shape of GCSEs is actually pretty good. The sciences give a good grounding on theory and application, as does ICT. However, I can't ignore that religious studies is clearly the weakest amongst the bunch. And the main reason that it's made mandatory in faith schools seems to be to avoid pissing off the churches. Religious studies has no place on a mandatory curriculum beyond year 9. I know I'm going to annoy people by that point, but fuck it, I've said it. And we have to face facts that it's a timetable slot that could be put to significantly better use. Have it as an option instead, and just let people people who want to take RS to take it. In its place, I propose law as a mandatory GCSE. Every person in the United Kingdom is directly answerable to the law and will come in contact with it at some point. Yet millions of children leave school every year without even a basic idea of their rights in society. That's wrong. Children should have a basic grasp of the law, its articles and due process before they leave school. And it would serve them so much better in the real big bad world than an exam on which disciple betrayed Jesus. Okay. I think I'm done. Question of the week. Do you guys wish you had a particular subject that you could have studied at school? Do you think GCSEs helped you decide what you want to do with your life, or were they just a complete waste of your time? Let me know down below. Thumb the video if you liked it, and it would mean the world to me if you could share this to as many people as possible, because I really want to get the word out to this one. And who knows, it might even get the attention of the G-Man himself.